And now, to continue our session, let's move to another topic that I believe that everybody is totally concerned and really care about. That is the future of digital economy by Professor Jason Poss, distinguished professor of economics at RMIT. Please take the stage, Jason. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Ben. So, the original plan we had was that I was going to go first to present a high-level overview, and then Ben was going to close out with the implications of Vietnam. But I'm glad we switched it around because I thought that was an incredibly interesting overview of what the opportunities for a digital economy for Vietnam is. What I want to do for the next 10 minutes is answer the question, or try and provide a new vision for what we mean by digital economy. And the argument I want to make is going to be a relatively, I hope will be an opportunity to sort of rethink the scale at which we think of what a digital economy is. So I'm going to present you with sort of 4 ways of thinking about this. So I'm Jason Poss, I'm an economics professor, and I've spent my career studying the nature of long-run economic growth. And long-run economic growth, to a first approximation, means 2 things. It means technologies and innovation, and it means institutions. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I sort of had a revelation when I realized that the thing about crypto, blockchain, is it's both. It's institutional innovation, it's institutional technology. And this sort of notion of why we're seeing this sort of fundamental shift in a tech revolution that is simultaneously an institutional revolution is the reason I think we're at a very interesting moment in history. So I want to try and locate this answer to the question, what is a digital economy in contrast to an industrial economy and then an agrarian economy before that? In the line of where are we in history? And the argument I want to make is that we're not just at a sort of post-industrial, sort of moment that makes sense in the past 100 or 200 years, but this is a millennial type of shift. So I want to really try and shift that out. All right, 4 models of the digital economy. The first model is the one that was sort of popularized by the OECD and the World Economic Forum and every large consultancy company over the past few decades. And the argument there is that a digital economy is a sector. It's a sector in an industrial economy where you've got the health sector and the agricultural sector and the trade sector and the education sector and the digital sector. And the digital sector is largely made up by all of the things that have computers in them. So you go, right, where are the computers? Who has jobs in doing, working with computers and so on? And you add it up and you go, a very highly developed economy like Switzerland or America has got a large digital sector, and sort of a less developed economy has a small digital sector, and the growth development process is just adding.
Hi everyone, we have a lot of workshops and keynotes.
That model of industrial dynamics is well favoured by governments because it provides a plan for how do we grow this industrial sector. It's loved by consultancy companies because they can develop digital strategies for your digital economy and your digital sector. The universities love it because we can start to try and develop growth and jobs in space. But it's basically the idea that if we just go through and count up all of the computers, all of the internets, all of the people that work with computers on the internet, we've got a measure of it. Those measures go anywhere from 6% to 22%, depending on how we count and where we are in history. That's the industrial version of a digital economy. So it's the sort of advanced frontier of an industrial economy, that one of the industrial trajectories of innovation was computers and the internet, and that gave rise to a new sort of set of industries, and on we go. That's the standard model. It's the standard model in policy and strategy. I think it's wrong. And I want to explain why I think it's wrong. It was once true, but it's not useful for thinking about the future of a digital economy. We are not dealing with just another sector. That's so digital industry. The second way to think about it is to look at it from the perspective of economists themselves. So I'm an economist economist, and one of the things that we're trained to do is to sort of think about the economy in terms of costs. And the basic division is between productivity and costs that come from production, so factories and machines and technology and industrial technologies and so on. And we look at technological change and innovation in reducing those costs. And it points to firms doing amazing tech that are reducing those production costs. But the thing about that model is that what you tend to ignore is all of the transactions costs or administration costs or the costs of actually keeping track of all of the administrative aspects of an economy, sort of the banking system and the administrative systems and the legal systems and all of those parts. Just you ignore those things and you go, that's not really the economy, that's the government part, or that's the administration part, or that's in the background. A good economist will say that's wrong because those are costs just like any other costs, like the transactions costs. And what we think of the digital economy is the first of the point is, what did the internet do? It dramatically lowered the costs of communication by email. It took communication costs from very, very large, and it's expensive to send letters around the world or to use telephones to call people in other countries, to just making it basically zero cost. So communication costs fell. The way that economists have been encouraging people to think about a digital economy is that it's a dramatic fall, not in production costs in an industrial sense, but a dramatic fall in communication and administration and transactions costs in an economy. The costs of verifying a counterparty, identity, the costs of verifying or monitoring a transaction, smart contracts and so on. So that notion of thinking of a digital economy is a fundamental revolution in a class of costs in an economy, but not industrial costs, transactions costs. And that points to administrative infrastructure, exchanges and marketplaces and decentralized identity and smart contracting and distributed court systems and all of the things that sort of basically we're not used to seeing large-scale innovation in those things. So that's this notion that it's not the factories that have suddenly gotten better, it's the institutions that have suddenly gotten better because they've become digital. I think this is true, but it's still not a complete vision of what do we mean by a digital economy. So we'll note that the economists, when they point to a digital economy, don't say a new sector, they say that the costs of economic coordination have started to fall. Alright, the third model I'd like to introduce is one that we at Blockchain Innovation Hub at RMIT University in sunny Melbourne in Vietnam have been developing over the past 5 years. We call it institutional crypto economics. The basic idea is that it builds on that it's transactions costs that have been falling. And it redefines the idea of what do we mean by a digital economy. It's not a new sector in the economy that's been growing as if it was creative industries or tourism or advanced manufacturing, but rather pushing digital deep into the institutions of an economy all the way down. So what a digital economy looks like is it's not a new digital sector, it's a new digital stack, an institutional stack where things that previously didn't used to be digital, marketplaces, exchanges, court systems, contracting systems, accounting systems, legal systems and so on, trade systems, regulatory systems become natively digital. And that's the thing that is, for crypto people, that seems kind of obvious. For most of the world, it's weird and scary. And I think that's this definition of what do we mean by a digital economy, is we don't mean that it's got a digital sector, we mean that all of the institutional components of an economy, its money, its identity, its contracting systems, its legal systems, its administrative systems, its trade systems, its exchange systems, its sort of compliance systems are natively digital all the way down. Now that happens in phases, and some parts of it, like, and this is we can point to and go, oh, that's DeFi, or that's sort of TradeFi, or RegTech, or whatever. So there's different sort of parts of it, but that's kind of that's the sort of third model of what we mean by a digital economy. Now, the thing that you'll notice about that is that's naturally global. It's naturally something that fits at the level of the internet, not at the level of individual countries. And as Ben was sort of pointing out, the very bottom line of what, I'm not sure if everyone can see that, but a full stack digital economy is something that you can build all the other digital techs on top of. How it scales out is it scales out with IoT automation and AI automation, and all of the other digital automations just builds naturally on that. So where we are in that line in this time of history is we are at this early stage of building a full stack digital economy that hasn't yet scaled out, because the scaling isn't and then it becomes wall-to-wall crypto. The scaling is then it becomes wall-to-wall digital with all of the other digital technologies, and AI and IoT are the ones that are sort of front of mind for many people, but that's where the scaling comes from, not more and more sort of digital assets, which I believe my colleague should be talking about next. Alright, so that notion of an economy as a state machine, of an economy as a sort of common knowledge institutional system that is natively digital, is, I think, a much better understanding of what we mean by a digital economy. But that's a very, very different vision to the digital industry or digital sector, the model that we had before. Alright, so I want to those are the sort of familiar ones. I want to give you one more model that I think is actually the true model. This is the one that I think is a little bit more interesting because it takes it out of the post-industrial transition to digital and locates it in what I believe is the correct historical time frame. So I've spent my lifetime working on economics of innovation and new technologies. The claim I want to make is that the single most important technology in human history is writing. And writing is the beginning of everything. It's the thing that happened sort of about 3,000 years ago in a lot of different places around the world. Gave us the modern world in terms of this ability of humans to communicate asynchronously in a decentralized way. In an oral society, it's been synchronized. You have to be in the same room, in the same space as someone, and if you're not there, you don't get to share the message. Writing, from the very first initial sort of inscriptions on papyrus back in Indus Valley and thousands of years ago, what that enabled was a conception of asynchronous, I'm using the modern language, asynchronous distributed communication. That was writing as symbols on parchment or carved into stone. Everything else followed from that. 2,000 years of developing that technology. One of the last phases of that was the Industrial Revolution and the Industrial Era. And then around the 1970s, we had another leap, and that was digital writing. And what is digital writing? It's enabling science to be able to act. It's this sort of thing that seems magic from a previous era, where you can write some signs and those signs can act in the world. Right now, when I describe that as a smart contract, the magic goes away. But that notion of writing that can act that's the beginning of the new era that we live in. It's the era where the humans and the machines start to sort of merge together to one. What that means is, I want to represent that as a universal economy. This is the beginning of a native global economy. The last phases of the Industrial Revolution were us trying to desperately stitch together a global economy through treaties and all sorts of other nation-state integrations. We are, as we were 3,000 years ago, the beginning of a new era of a natively, not just digital economy, but global economy. And that is the argument about why we are in a very special and interesting moment in history. So, future of the digital economy, I think, does depend upon the way in which we think about these things. These four models increase in scale from a new, exciting growth sector that is good for the economy because it drives economic growth and so on. Not centuries, but this will take a long time for it to sort of work through. But I think this is the correct diagnosis of the significance of Web3 technologies, fundamentally digital infrastructure, as the basis of a new type of economy. And that's the way in which a digital economy is not just a sort of a cute sort of phrase, a cute sort of marketing phrase to describe the late industrial era. We're at the beginning of a new era, and a digital economy is fundamentally built upon this technology of the digital web. With that, I will close and hand to my colleague, Mr. Thank you.
Let's give Professor Jason House a round of applause. He told me that he was very anxious and nervous for the speech, but I think he did very well, right, Jason?